Ladies and gentlemen, I think this past week was arguably the best week for the WWE. I mean, we had the Wyatt Sick. Some refer to it as the Wyatt Six. I'm gonna wait till we hear Uncle Howdy announce it as such. But I'm gonna just refer to them as the Wyatt family. So we had the debut of the Wyatt family. We had returns. We had a quitter who came back. And then we had the debut. The Samoan werewolf, Jacob Fatu, has arrived in the WWE and is a part of the bloodline. You already know what time it is. This is Wrestle Talk with yours truly, the franchise. And I want to thank everybody that locked in on Tuesday's impromptu episode of Wrestle Talk, where I discussed solely the return or the debut of the Wyatt family, the Wyatt Six, however you want to refer to this faction as. It was a lot. It was a lot to take in with that return or with that debut. So I want to thank everybody that locked in and tuned in to that episode. So let's just jump right into it. There's a lot to kind of get into. You know, there's one big conversation that I want to tackle. It is AEW related, but get to that a little bit later. So let's dive right into it. So I have a quick question. I know that we've mentioned and I've talked about Cody Rhodes' undisputed title reign and how we got to give it time. We got to see how this plays out. But what about Damien Priest? Now, since Priest cashed in at WrestleMania, his title reign has been in question. It has been. I know some will say that, you know, they feel like it's not the best title reign. Some will say maybe, you know, maybe he shouldn't had won the world title because title reign is kind of not sure what's going on. I've said in the past, and I will continue to say this, is I feel though as if Dom's injury plays a major role in the shift in this story. Because I honestly believe that if Dom didn't get hurt, it would have been Dom and JD eyeing the World Tag Team titles. And the split would have happened and we would have got Finn versus Priest. Maybe at Clash. No, not at Clash. You had to have that happen at Clash with Drew McIntyre. You had to have that. But maybe we would have got this at Money in the Bank, leading up to SummerSlam, where Priest would have dropped the title to Gunther. However, as we love in this business, cards are subject to change. And what we assume could be a story ends up not being the story. Because the man who is a visionary, the man who is a revolutionary, the architect, arguably, some will say, is the greatest wrestler of this generation. I would say he's maybe third. And that is Seth Freakin Rollins returned on Monday night. Now, the show, as you know, show opened up with Seth Rollins. And Seth Rollins made his point made that he was going to participate in the Money in the Bank and go on and secure this briefcase and cash in and get back what's rightfully his. Now, he lost in no controversy. He lost clean to Drew McIntyre. But it made me think about a question. Like when he came out and when Priest came out and then Priest kind of said, you know, let's have it. Money in the Bank. Me versus you. And Seth is like, I don't trust you. I feel like Judgment Day is going to come out. And he was like, no, Judgment Day don't know nothing about this. They don't even know I'm out here. Me and you. And Seth Rollins said, you're on. I asked myself just one question. Why? Because I feel though as if Seth Rollins he was supposed to take more than 2 months. I feel like he wanted to take longer than 2 months. But I feel though as if because they're looking at the landscape of Raw and they're seeing though as if, okay, there's not that much going on. We don't have any more viable people as of right now that can go against Priest. So we have to bring Seth Rollins back. We got to bring Seth Rollins back for this match right here. Now, the question I have, that was the first question, is about Damien Priest's title reign. The second question that I have for you, and you can, as always, leave your answer in the comments. Is Seth Rollins going to win the world title? Are we going to see Seth Rollins dethrone Damien Priest to then face Gunther at SummerSlam? The match that I said should have happened at WrestleMania. Are we now going to get this at SummerSlam? And if we get this at SummerSlam, is Gunther going to do what I predicted he was going to do at WrestleMania, which is beat Seth Rollins to the point of no return? Is Seth Rollins going to come back just to get written off again and be gone for a substantial amount of time? Because when you see what they're doing and the way it looks though as if they need something that's going to sell SummerSlam on the Raw side. And that Gunther versus Seth Rollins will sell more than Priest versus Gunther. I think we may get Priest versus Finn at SummerSlam, because I feel though as if they do this, it may trickle down to the Liv Morgan, Dominic Mysterio Judgment Day story. And I say that because I feel like if you go back and you watched on Raw when they were highlighting the the Dom Liv situation, Pat McAfee brought up something. And he brought up the fact that Finn took the hotel room key. You know, the key that Liv Morgan gave to Dom. And Priest asked him, why'd you take the card? And then you see that there's this tension slowly creeping up between Priest and Finn. So if we have this tension between Priest and Finn, one could suggest that we actually will get Priest and Finn at SummerSlam, because Finn may cost Priest, or the Judgment Day may turn on Priest. And we get that. I was happy to see Seth Rollins. You can tell that there was a void missing on Raw. With Seth Rollins not being there, with Rhea Ripley not being there, there's this void that has been missing for a while. And we got that on Monday with the return of Seth Rollins. Eventually, Rhea Ripley will return. I would love to see her return at Money in the Bank, but I feel though as if, and this is going to go into SmackDown and the return of Jacob, but I'm going to get it, the debut of Jacob Fatu. I don't think what I'm predicting is going to happen. I think we get returns at SummerSlam and not at Money in the Bank. I would love to see the returns at Money in the Bank, but I'm starting to feel more though as if we're going to see returns at SummerSlam, because I think they're going to try to build up. Even though if you really think about it, you should have people return at Money in the Bank, because SummerSlam is that big event and you need to create, you want to have eyes drawn onto SummerSlam. You do. And right now, there's not really, you got Bayley versus Nia Jax and Gunther versus the world champ. It's not really, there's nothing really captivating to bring us into SummerSlam. And SummerSlam is the WrestleMania of the summer. It's the second biggest event of the year. So you should have that. You should put, because we all know right now, SummerSlam looks like this. We have Bayley, Nia Jax, Gunther versus the world champ, and we have CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. That is happening at SummerSlam. After the events that happened this week, that is definitely happening at SummerSlam. So what are you doing? So Cody is doing what? There's rumors going around that Cody is going to be a part of a 6-man tag at SummerSlam, where it's Cody, Randy, Kevin Owens versus the New Bloodline. But why? Because then what are you going to do? Are you going to have Randy turn on him at that pay-per-view? And then what? Because Randy and Cody can get billed into SummerSlam. We can build that into SummerSlam. Kevin Owens didn't qualify. Randy Orton didn't qualify. We can slowly start planting seeds of Randy turning on Kevin Owens, turning on Randy Orton, because Kevin Owens, I'm not going to say is the reason why he lost a qualifying match, but one could probably say he may be. So we have that. So I'm saying all that to say, like, the build for SummerSlam, even though we have one more pit stop, which is Money in the Bank, it doesn't feel, though, as if there's not this sense of urgency for SummerSlam. Now, I can completely be wrong. And the minute Money in the Bank is over, they hot punch and they go beeline right into SummerSlam. And they build up SummerSlam from the minute Money in the Bank ends to the Friday before SummerSlam. And they build that shit like it is WrestleMania. They could do that. The one thing that I am never going to do is question Paul Levesque. I will never question Paul Levesque, because whatever Paul Levesque has done in the past has proved to work out. Even when we sat there and we'll be head scratching, trying to figure out, like, why, there's a reason why. It'll come full circle. There will be a reason why. So yeah, going all the way back to Seth Rollins, I am excited that Seth Rollins is back. Was very surprised. It was very funny that when Seth came back, there was a guy in the crowd who actually had a sign that said, "We want Seth Rollins back," or something like that. And they panned right to him the minute his music hit. Like the minute you heard the "burn it down," and then they went right to that crowd, that fan, and that with that sign. And it was like, he knew that Seth Rollins was going to be here, type of thing. But no, it was exciting to see that Seth came back. Very, very cool to see that. So we do have, like I said, Priest versus Seth Rollins at Money in the Bank. We do have some people that have qualified for Money in the Bank. We have Jey Uso, who qualified on Monday, and Io Sky qualified as well this Monday, today. Y'all know I record on Sunday, so this will be dropping on Monday. So today, we have I believe it's two qualifying matches on Raw for the men's side, which one of them has Chad Gable. That's right. The same man that was taken out by the Wyatt and looked like he died, he's been medically cleared to compete. It's going to be very interesting to see how this is going to work itself out. I know that they were showing other stills of the little small messages that was left for him through the Wyatts. You know, as I said during the impromptu episode, I said that they had the initials for Chad Gable, CG, and then they had something about "you lied to us" and "you're welcome" and all this other stuff. So they're picking certain people to go after. Apparently they took over Adam Pearce's X account because they refer to him as the Postman, because if you remember back to when The Fiend and they had the Firefly Funhouse, Adam Pearce was the mailman. He was the mailman that came in and delivered mail to Bray Wyatt. So they kind of, they had took over that. And then obviously the big one that everybody was talking about was the Pat McAfee show. You guys know Pat McAfee has his show, used to be on YouTube. Now he has a very big luxurious deal at ESPN. And he had the Pat McAfee show on, I think it was Thursday? Might have been Thursday, I think. And during the show, there started to be some flickering of the lights and stuff like that. And then next thing you know, we hear the and everything goes off. So everybody was thinking that, the Wyatts have went and attacked them, and Pat McAfee got on the next day and explained, and showed kind of the situation. And again, the Wyatts came out and said, you lied. And basically it looks so as if Pat McAfee may be the next victim on this Wyatt family drama, or not drama, the Wyatt family. I'm very interested to see how this is going to play itself out. I love the package that they did on SmackDown. I loved how, as they were showing each person from the Wyatt family, they showed them from the puppet house, or from the Firefly Funhouse. So when you see Sister Abigail, when you see Nikki Cross, you briefly, like, it was a faded picture, but it was a faded shot of Sister Abigail from the Firefly Funhouse. And then it just went through all of them, except for Uncle Howdy. Uncle Howdy, they just showed the images of Uncle Howdy when Bray was back for the second time. So it's very interesting. I'm very interested to see where they're going to go with this. I know that a lot of them have taken their social media and have adopted their character for these characters. So I know Nikki Cross has, her profile is now Sister Abigail. Her pictures of Sister Abigail. I believe Joe Gacy, and Joe Gacy's having a field day with this. He's going after everybody. So, he's doing that. I don't think Dexter has a social media, but yeah, I don't think he does, but all the rest of them have, and I don't think Uncle Howdy does. I don't think he has a Twitter. I've seen Uncle Howdy Twitter, but I don't know if that's exactly Bo Dallas. But like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how they play this story out. You want to know all my thoughts and opinions on it, go back and watch the They're Here episode of Wrestle Talk. But let's get into Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. Arguably, what I feel is going to go down as one of the greatest stories in this Triple H era and beyond. I think this story is going to be talked about for years to come. Unless you take the Seth Rollins CM Punk and put that shit and skyrocket that, because this right here is personal. So much so that people are comparing this to... Who are they comparing it to? They compared it to Bret Hart. And is it Shawn Michaels that they was comparing this to? Or Bret Hart and Stone Cold? It was one of the two. but they were saying that Drew McIntyre is like Bret Hart, and they were showing the comparisons. Like they showed when he quit, when Bret Hart quit, and he was like, "I'm done. I can't deal with this," and he quit and he left. And they showed when Drew McIntyre did it, but they just did it in different ways. You know, everybody thought Drew McIntyre was going to come out on Monday and go ballistic and tear up people and yell and call out CM Punk and fuck some people up. Didn't happen. Did not happen. He just came out and said, he brought up he said CM Punk's name and then was like, you know what? Screw this company. Screw it all. I quit. And walked away. One thing that they did is they showed, obviously, him and Adam Pearce talking. They get back into the gorilla and you see Triple H talking. And Triple H and him is talking, and Drew McIntyre said something. And he said, "I heard what you said at the press conference. Like, I heard what you said. You know, you want this. You want him. There's nothing that can be said. Like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm out." And as I said it on Monday when I was watching Raw last Monday, and I said to myself, I said, how many people are going to start the Drew McIntyre is going to AEW? Drew McIntyre might even end up in TNA because of the relationships that they have. And I think when they did do when the Knockout Champion showed up there and they started talking all this stuff, I know Moose and Drew had some exchange of words, but it's very interesting to see that, you know, I did that. I trolled a little bit, just a little bit. But we all knew what was going to happen. Drew McIntyre was going to show up on SmackDown. There was no doubt in my mind that he was going to show up on SmackDown. When was he going to show up? Did not know. I was thinking he was going to show up. They was going to have something with CM Punk at the very end, and Drew McIntyre attacks him. They didn't do that. And there's a reason why, but we'll get into that later. Obviously, we all know who debuted at the end of SmackDown. Drew McIntyre showed up midway through the show, and the way they did it was perfect. It was so, seeing Caleb Braxton talking to DIY, and you hear the banging on the door, like the trailer, not the trailer, but the garage door in the back. And they're kind of like, what is going on? And then they step away, and then you see the door open up, and you just see CM Punk laying there, and Drew McIntyre is standing over him. And when I say the Scottish Psychopath has returned, he has returned. That man looked crazed. Him and Nick Aldis, Nick Aldis like, what are you doing? And Drew said something, but I know the word fuck came out of his mouth, and they did not bleep him saying that. I think he said, "Don't fucking touch me" or something like that. And he just let it go. Now, I thought as they was loading him in the ambulance and they was about to drive off, I thought that ambulance was going to stop. They were going to open that door, and Drew McIntyre was going to be in that ambulance beating the dog shit out of CM Punk again. The only thing I did not like about this moment And this is why I hate sometimes these damn phones. Because I happened to see that there was a video that surfaced as soon as SmackDown went off the air, and CM Punk was seen driving away in Chicago. That upset me. It did. Because you want to create that suspense. You want to really create that, like, CM Punk is really at the hospital. And you didn't, because there was somebody who did that, and CM Punk should have had fucking tints on his windows, because you clearly see that was CM Punk driving away. And it's like, damn, why'd you do? It would have been so much better if you just let it, just didn't show nothing. So obviously we are getting CM Punk, Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. I think that it is going to be very personal. It's like I said, it's going to be up there. This story is going to be up there with the great storylines. Like, if they do continue with the AEW rivalry, this story needs to be told like immediately, because it's that great of a rivalry. It's that great of a story being told between the two of them. So I'm looking forward to that. Also on SmackDown, we had some other qualifiers for Money in the Bank. Chelsea Green is in Money in the Bank. I'm gonna. If Tiffany Stratton is not in a qualifying match for Money in the Bank, I'm going to go with Chelsea Green. I'm going to go with Chelsea. I am. That if Tiffany Stratton does not make it, which then will have me question, but then it's also going to make me think this is her, in a sense, eating dog shit because of the Instagram drama that happened with her and Bianca and Jade, where she did the dub with the "you black bitch" and hit, that. I think they're probably like, okay, you have momentum. We were going to put the rocket ship on your back and send you out there, and then you do this. So clearly you're showing that you're not mature enough yet. So let's drop you down a peg or two and let you eat this dog shit, which would suck. I mean, because she definitely has the potential. I've always said that she's a star in the making, or she has it. But when you display even the smallest things when it comes to this, I think if Vince McMahon was still here, she definitely would this wouldn't have been a problem, but I think with the new regime and everything, and Triple H really having a large investment especially in Jade, I can see this happening. Now, I don't know next week, or I don't know this week's qualifying matches for SmackDown. But Chelsea Green, she advanced. Andrade advanced, and Carmelo advanced. Definitely was surprised that Carmelo advanced. I thought Tama Tonga was going to advance, and you would have had Tama Tonga and Jey Uso, and that would have been the reason why Jey didn't win. But as far as the men's side goes, I mean, with Jey Carmelo Andrade right now. Oof. I still don't know. I think once we get all the participants in the Money in the Bank, that's when I'll be able to give my men's prediction. Right now, I'm going for the women's, even though it's the same for the women's. We don't know all the candidates. I'm going Chelsea Green. I am going because Chelsea Green, the Money in the Bank for the women's side feels more of it needs to go to one of like a Chelsea Green or a Tiffany Stratton that is going to be the conniving kind of, it fits them. You know, I don't know how to explain it. It's like when you think of like the Queen of the Ring, like I said, Tiffany Stratton, that fits her gimmick, her role, like her attitude, all that. She's like a queen. Like she's like, it's Tiffy time, you know, and all that stuff. And I thought that was going to work, but obviously it didn't. Nia Jax's. But I think the Money in the Bank, it's an opportunity to cash in. And I think seeing Chelsea Green with the briefcase running to try to cash in and having Piper, don't think Piper Niven is not going to, if she does win the Money in the Bank briefcase, don't be surprised if she gets Piper Niven to get involved. Don't be surprised if Piper Niven doesn't try to take the briefcase and try to cash in herself. You know, these small little details we got to really pay close attention to. But I'm looking forward to Money in the Bank for these matches. Now, let's get into the closing of SmackDown and the debut of the Samoan werewolf himself, Jacob Fatu. Before I even get into that, I want to talk about the feel-good moment of SmackDown. And that was CM Punk and Paul Heyman. The first time these two stepped into a ring since CM Punk has returned. And if you know anything, the relationship between CM Punk and Paul Heyman is very tight. They are the best of friends. And I can truly tell it was a sea of emotion on Paul Heyman's part. Not just because of even when the crowd started chanting for Roman Reigns. And we know every time the crowd chants for Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman gets overwhelmed with emotion. But for him to get in the ring and give him a hug and CM Punk, and it really was like CM Punk was sitting there like, Paul, like, what's going on? Like, what? You good? And he hugs him and he said, I just needed that. You know, I thank you. I needed that. And he tells him, like, you know, I know Chicago is your home. This is your town. This is your city. But Solo is saying it's his city, his town, whatever. And he said, I want to do you a favor, but you have to do one for me in return. And obviously he said, take me with you. Now, it's very interesting because we keep hearing orders of the tribal chief and all this stuff. But Paul Heyman said that there were strict instructions by Roman Reigns to not touch CM Punk because of how much CM Punk means to Paul Heyman. It's very telling. There's also been the talks that Roman Reigns has unfollowed. We're on this fucking journey of social media, and the minute somebody unfollows somebody, guess what? It pops up. Everybody, there is, I don't want to call them bots, but there are people that literally their job is just to check every time someone unfollows somebody, check it like, oh, they're unfollowing them. Something's going on. So obviously there's reports that Roman Reigns has unfollowed Solo Sikoa, which is a clear indication that Roman Reigns is due to return any day. So we have that. And we're seeing the story built with Solo, the bloodline, Cody, Randy, Kevin Owens, and we see that at the end of SmackDown, they had Solo kind of in a corner begging. And then we got the debut. Now, I was listening to Don Tony and Kevin Casso, the Podfathers, and they kind of threw this ideal out there that I didn't think of, which was, what if Jacob came in and aligned himself with Roman and them? Because the question that they posed was, do you take away the momentum that Jey Uso has? Because yes, everyone wants to see the Usos back together, but they're seeing the trajectory of Jey Uso, and can Jey Uso actually get to that level? Because one of the reasons why Cody didn't win the title at 39 was because Roman and them said, let's wait and let's build. Let's build the Solo. Let's build the Jey Uso. Let's continue to build Cody. And we're seeing the fruits of that labor flourish. We are seeing Jey Uso take over the crowd. We're seeing, we've seen what happened with Cody. Solo has come into his own, but it all doesn't make a damn difference anymore because Jacob Fatu, who is promised to be the best, the future, when he debuted, the wrestling community all in unison said, he is it. It ain't Solo. Jey Uso has it right now, but Jacob Fatu is the one. He has it all. But what if Jacob was sent by Roman? What if Jacob starts saying, yeah, the tribal chief sent me? And then we start seeing that there's a difference between what one tribal chief said and what another tribal chief said, because Jacob may be saying this tribal chief said this, which is Roman, and Solo and them will be saying, well, he said this, which is the final boss. And then that's when we find out there Solo and them have been answering to The Rock, while Roman is giving the orders to Jacob. And then we get Jimmy, Jacob, and Roman. You could throw Jey Uso in there. And you could throw the honorary Uso in there as Sammy. And then you have Tama Tonga, Tungaloa, Solo. There's one other. And then you have The Rock. War Games. Bloodline War Games. It's a match made in heaven. I'm looking forward to seeing this. I know a lot of people are excited for Jacob Fatu because he has a lot of promise. I'm looking forward to seeing the madness that he's going to do. So yeah, I'm looking extremely forward to that. Before I wrap this up, I did say that there was something that I wanted to talk about that seems to be circulating around the wrestling world right now, and that is the possibility of Shane McMahon joining All Elite Wrestling. Now, apparently, Conrad was on his show with JR, I believe it was. And he said that he's heard that Shane McMahon, I think they have a mutual friend, and Shane McMahon had threw out the idea of, well, what would it be if I did join AEW? How would that look? And ever since Conrad said this, the wrestling world has been going crazy with the ideal of Shane McMahon, a McMahon, working in AEW. Shane has always been the one to kind of go against the grain. He wanted to buy, I believe he wanted to buy ECW. He wanted to buy ECW. When they brought back ECW, he was one of the people that pushed for the return of ECW. I think Shane has a good mind for the business. I will be honest with you. I think if Shane did join AEW, it would be the biggest move, the biggest, I don't want to say the biggest blow, but it would have significant impact on AEW's product. The only thing that I would ask, and obviously it's not going to get to anybody in AEW, is that if this happens, we just do not get the bullshit. We don't get the digs. You know, that's the one thing. And like, so certain individuals have referred to me as a mark. And I said that I told myself I would not address these comments because they were comments that were left under the Aces Instagram page because I happened to just voice my opinion on stuff. And some people have referred to me as a mark. I've always stated in the past, I want AEW to succeed. My only issue that I had with AEW is the mere fact that AEW has this tendency of it's horrible. Like, I'm not saying it's horrible. I go back and I'm currently watching Who Killed WCW. And if you watch Who Killed WCW and you just take WCW, the initials WCW, and take that away and put AEW, you will not be able to tell the difference. Because the end of AEW, or the end of WCW is very much similar to what we're getting in AEW right now. You know, like, I don't want to say shitty storytelling, but it's not the best. You know, when you have watched something, and I've said this before, because as you know, I'm a lifer. I'm a WWE lifer. My standard for sports entertainment is at that level. So anything that comes up and is trying to compete with it, you have to compete with it on that same playing field. And they're not competing on it on that same playing field. You know, I remember I was just watching Stone Cold Broken Skull Sessions. And Jericho was on there. It was the iconic episode with Jericho, a AEW person, in a WWE production, and they were talking. And I remember Jericho kept saying, yo, we're not competing with, like, women, he would say, we're not competing with the WWE. But then he turned around and said, you know, the fans have made WWE and AEW kind of compete against each other. And he's like, we're just trying to be a different alternative to the WWE. And that's how I try to look at it. That's why, like, when I see the stuff that they do, I literally say, this is different from WWE, and this caters to this type of crowd. And it just sometimes it doesn't fit with me. You know, like, what would be the best story that they're telling right now in AEW, in my opinion? Maybe, this is a stretch, maybe the Elite story may be the best thing that they have going right now. But even that is just stupid. It's terrible. So, I mean, if Shane goes there, he goes there. I just don't want to hear all the AEW stands coming out the woodwork and, like, attacking and being like, oh, this is the end. WWE is done. Shane McMahon is there. And da-da-da-da. Cut the bullshit. Just cut it out. So that's it for this episode. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. You know, I didn't ask a few questions. Let me know what y'all thought about the return of Seth Rollins, the debut of Jacob Fatu. Where do you see his role in this Bloodline story? When do you think Roman Reigns is going to return? Is it going to be at Money in the Bank, or is it going to be at SummerSlam? Seth Rollins' return, what do you think about that? Do you think that they need to take the belt off of Damien Priest? What do y'all think of Damien Priest's title reign so far? Let me know all in the comments. If you are new to the channel, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and hit the notification bell so you are up to date of when more content is dropping. You can follow us on Instagram, RCW_podcast. You can also follow the Ace as well at RCW_Ace. We are on Threads as well. I'm trying to get better at posting on Threads. So it's the same as RCW_podcast. So make sure you check out that. I will be back next week with another episode of Wrestle Talk with the franchise. Till then, I am out. Later.